Greetings, Patrick here. 8 questions with. We're here live on a Saturday. That's right. We're doing a matinee show. I haven't done one of these in a minute, but we are here, and we will be talking with our guest and storyteller, Florence Frightengale. She'll be here in about 15 minutes or so, and we're going to get into it. Yeah, this is my first pure storyteller. Basically, not a poet, not a spoken word artist, but someone who can sit there and tell a story. Sort of like a Mark Twain. That's probably the one thing I think of, who can sit down in a chair and just tell a story, spin a yarn. And yeah, that takes a lot of skill. Especially if you keep telling this and you keep telling the story, and you have to keep it. You have to keep it. You just can't go off it on a tangent. Um, it's very hard, which is one of the reasons why I was really intrigued. Because I asked, do you have a blog or do you have a podcast, or do you write a book? And no, these are all stories straight from Florence as she's experienced them. So we're gonna hear a few today. And how does she do it? Um, how does she come up with the ideas? How does she frame them? I have a lot of questions. But then again, don't I always? Um, so she'll be here in about 15 minutes. Um, yeah, it's a beautiful day here in southeastern Michigan. It's Saturday. Football is going on. I see people are talking football all over the place. And we will be talking a little football probably later on tonight. Well, at least I'll be watching it a little bit later. My San Jose State Spartans are hosting Idaho. That should be pretty entertaining. It will be a pretty even game, I think, for a little bit, but I do think the Spartans will go ahead and pull away from that. So keep our fingers crossed anyway. Can't lose today. Boy, we lose today, that might be the season for us. And that's a true story. Uh, yeah, I'm pretty excited about the upcoming shows we got coming up. We have Florence here today. Tomorrow, we're going over to the Horror Miser Monty G's channel. We're heading over there for our watching and discussing. I always say watch, to watch, or not to watch necessarily, but to we're going to be discussing The Witch. And A24 has made the news again today. The Witch is the movie I feel broke the company, made it, a household name. We heard this week that there's a rumor going on that A24 could be buying the rights to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And of course, this is right after they have gotten Friday the 13th. It's really sort of a weird call. I'm sort of disappointed with the fact of getting away from their core business, as far as the types of movies they're releasing. I don't want to see, retreads and remakes. As much as I poke fun at A24, I like the idea that they come out with original movies. I mean, they do, and they come up with some damn good ones. And as we've talked about a few of them on my channel here. I've seen other people talk about them on theirs. Uh, Tomorrow, like I said, we're talking about The Witch tomorrow on Monty G's channel, and should be really entertaining discussion. I'll be joined by none other than Monty, of course, and then the Wonder Twins, Mika and Kira, and Dale from Dale on Movies. Should be a great discussion. And I do believe after tomorrow, I do believe the Wonder Twins will be taking over for the month after that. So we're gonna keep the ball going. Um, we might not be doing a normal ISC show this month. I don't think. I mean, Ben, our buddy Ben, I love his heart. I don't think he's going to be ready for that. So we were originally going to take it off anyway. This month we were going to take it off because we didn't think that he would be here. So we didn't want to do the show without him. He says he felt okay enough to do the show, but I, I we're just gonna give him a rest. we want him back. We want him back 100%. Um, and it was really cool. Was I talked to a filmmaker who showed me a pitch she's making for a movie, and on it was one of the stars of the Kill List. And of course, that immediately made me think of Ben because Ben's the one that pulled that movie out for the ISC show. And I went ahead and hey, brother Max is in the house. Um, I went ahead and I forwarded the filmmaker our show on the Kill List, and that was a yeah, it's a banging show. It's a banging movie. That's a good one. Um, so I'm thinking that October will be back, uh, and hopefully by next Sunday, a week from tomorrow, we'll have an idea what we're going to be watching, um, and we're going to get it back up and running. So that's what's going to go happen tomorrow. Monty's show tomorrow with the witch. On the 24th, we have filmmaker Samantha Plotkin will be here with us uh, at 8 o'clock. That'll be a lot of fun. Uh, really nice young lady. We can't wait to talk to her. We were supposed to be doing a show on the 23rd, but that got pushed back to the 30th. So we only have 8 questions with next week, and that will be on Wednesday. And then on the 27th, we're doing a watch party here on the channel with Invitation to Hell, directed by Wes Craven in 1984. He did a made-for-TV horror movie in the same year that he made Nightmare for Elm Street. Nightmare on Elm Street. How about that? It's Eric. Eric is here. That's right, getting ready for his own shenanigans. Inviting the lovely Melissa Hill in to watch Carrie. That will be a very fun watch. She has never seen Carrie. Um, that's all right. There's been a few Stephen King movies I have not seen either. Uh, um, Probably because I didn't really want to watch them actually. Um, you know what? I know you guys are gonna be surprised, but I have never seen Christine. Read the book, didn't like it. Didn't like that book. That book didn't do anything for me, which is why I think I skipped the movie. Didn't like the book, but um, I'm hoping if you do, if she likes Carrie, if she likes Carrie, I'm really hoping that you guys come back and revisit and do Cujo, because Cujo is such a fascinating movie to me. Seems like every year whenever I think about that movie, the more it's just like the more just the dog. It's all about the dog. It's not about the mom and the kid. It's about the dog. And that's a terrific movie. It's a really good movie. Good book too. And I read I read King really early, so I enjoyed that. I enjoyed Night Shift, The Stand. Um, I listened to your the Mangler review. Wow, wow! What I have never seen that movie. I read the short story. The short story is banging. That short story is a hell of a read. But man, when I heard what you were like, Eric was reviewing it, I was just like, "Oh, thank you, my friend. You just saved me 90 minutes of my life because I have no desire to see that movie now at all, even though it has Robert Englund in it. But that's all. Whew, dodged a bullet there." Um, I have a feeling. I have a feeling she will see the movie the way at least I see the movie. She'll see it through the dog's eyes, like the dog is the victim. It's not the mom or the son. It's the dog. The dog. It's a horror movie on for what the dog goes through. Um, I think part of that what it was when that movie came out. Of course, it came out way before the internet, right? Uh, but I think since we actually know a little bit more about rabies and what it does, before we would always hear the word rabies, but we never understood what it was because we never saw it. It wasn't like the 5 o'clock news was going like, look, here's a person with rabies, watch it. Um, we just heard about it. We know that we had to get a rabies shot. We know we had to get a booster. But now in this internet age, you could type in rabies and you can see firsthand what someone goes through when they have rabies. And it is just end me. Just, pop me in the neck. Oh, no, yeah, kirk me out. I know I would not want to go out that way. Rabies is horrendous, frightening, absolutely frightening. Um, and almost as frightening is getting bit and not knowing if you have the rabies shots or not. Like I probably haven't had a booster in forever. If my ass got bit today, I'd be telling them I don't. Yeah, just they put like I think between 20 and 23 needles like that. As far as I know, of course, this could be updated, but I heard the shots are still incredibly painful. They stick a needle like that and they shoot whatever they shoot into your stomach. And yeah, but I'd rather have that than rabies. Um, yeah, that's for sure. Um, so I have a feeling she would see it from the dog's point of view. Uh, that's a story right there. I have never, yeah, no doubt, right? Needles. Oh, yeah. Well, speaking of that, we're going to bring on our guest here, and who might know a little bit more about rabies than she might know a little bit more about rabies, and maybe that's something we'll talk about a little bit. But let's welcome our guest, Florence Frightengale from the Frightengale Files, and here we go. Greetings,
Hello.
Florence.
Hi. Good afternoon.
Hi. Good. How are you?
I am very well. Happy to be here.
We were just talking we were talking before you got on here about rabies.
Okay.
Um, like people who we were talking about the movie Cujo. Have you ever read it or read the book
Oh, it's
or seen
taking
the
me
movie?
back a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. Many moons ago, I both read and saw the movie.
So as we got older, anyway, for me, when I watched the movie when it first came out, it was you were always with the mom and the kid in the car. We're always worried about that. But it seems like as soon as I got older, I got older and a little bit wiser. And whenever I saw that movie, I realized that the real victim of that movie wasn't the mom and the kid. It was the dog. The
Oh,
dog was the victim. What a horrendous things for that dog to go through.
what a
Um,
horrendous thing.
yeah,
Absolutely.
the dog was the victim, and it was sort of weird growing up and finding out that the people you're initially supposed to root for, all of a sudden you like, we were talking about how back when it came out, we knew what rabies. We heard the word rabies. We knew we had to get a shot for rabies.
Many.
But we had never. Yeah, was it? Is it still 23? If you're
And it's a series. You don't go in, it's not one and done. You go in every week or, whatever the doctor wants, and it's multiple. So, yeah, it's quite a few shots.
all still in the stomach, right?
Yeah, actually, that's not as terrifying as it sounds. It's probably
I
less
don't think
painful
it. I
in
don't.
a lot of other places.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be terrifying for me because I'm fat as hell, and
Yeah,
I have a
right.
lot. Yeah,
Bring it on. Bring it on. You can't scare me with a
yeah.
little shot in the stomach.
I have enough. I have enough buoyancy to handle a shot. Though I hear the needles like this big. Oh, they showed the gauge of the needles.
No, no, no,
Really?
no. It's tiny. It's tiny.
Yeah, but
People's perception, right? You see a
uh-huh.
needle coming at you, you know it's going in the stomach. You flinch. Your eyes see what isn't really there. Little, little.
Uh-huh. But that's because you have a secret. You have a secret. See, you're the perfect person to walk us through this because not only are you a storyteller, but what do you do for when you're not telling stories?
I am a nurse. And in fact, I
Okay.
worked last night. And in fact, after this, I will go back to work. I've been a nurse I always have to do the math, 43 years. It's a long time.
43 years.
It's a long time, over 4 decades. I've been shuffling around hospitals mostly. Yeah.
I got a question for you. Is
Yeah.
the oncology why is it oncology for every hospital that has more than 10 stories? Why 8?
You froze for me. What was the question?
Um, for every hotel, every hospital that's over 10 stories high, why is the oncology floor always on floor 8?
Oh, I don't know that that's actually true. That's not been my experience at all. That's an
Yeah,
interesting. That's it. Well, we'll have to research that. I'll get back with you.
yeah, it
Bring
was
me back
weird because
another
it's
time.
like
We'll talk about that.
I've been a few hospitals, and it seems like every time I come in there, it's like oncology floors on 8.
Hmm.
The first couple of times, you don't pay any attention to it, but then you start hearing a pattern. You're going like, why is it oncology always on 8? Is that
You
like is that
notice
random?
patterns like that. Ours is on 4, but I'll have to look into that. I'll get back with you.
Now, what's really cool about this, like how I explain this, is that you are a storyteller, and how I equated what you do is with Mark Twain. Mark Twain would get a chair, walk out there, sit down, and just start regaling people with stories. They weren't written down. They weren't, there weren't notes or anything else. He would just sit there, have a crowd in front of him, and just regale themselves with his experiences. Um, 43 years, I can't even begin to think of how many things that you have seen in your career. Um,
It's been quite a
how did
ride.
you, yeah, how did you get into that? How did, when did you decide to like, I want to be able to tell some stories here, without going into anybody's privacy or medical condition or what have you?
It, it
How do you, go ahead.
Oh, it was a natural progression, You sit around the hospital, and at 3 a.m., you and your cronies start talking about some of the experiences that have happened. Or I'm not. You asked if I was an investigator. I'm not an investigator. I'm more of a paranormal witness. And I don't have to go out and look for these things. These things look for me and my peers. So you're sitting at the nurse's station at 3 a.m. and a nurse comes running back and she's like, "Oh my God, I just saw this floating apparition. It was a young girl in a white sundress floating down that back hallway there. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." And then somebody else says, "Oh, I've seen that before. She's harmless. So you started to accumulate these stories. And I just thought, why is this not out there? We've got a lot of good stuff to share. So I'm just extrapolating, just taking little bits and pieces of the experiences and then weaving it into a short tale. Can I give you an example?
Sure, please
Okay.
do.
So this one this is one of my very favorite stories. It was one of my very favorite Frightengale file stories. One of the first ones I told. So I have a friend, and she used to come in extra to be a sitter for patients to keep them safe. And she's sitting at a patient's bedside, and the patient looks at her, and I'll change the names. The patient looks at her and says, "Mary, you know who loves you, Mary? Satan loves you, Mary." Now, Mary gets scared poopless. And according to Mary, and I wasn't there, I didn't see, did not see. She said the patient's head spun, a 360, much like The Exorcist, and the patient levitated from the bed. I wasn't there, can't testify yay or nay. But I'm walking down the hallway because one of the things I do is to mitigate problems in the hospital. I get the call, "Come, Mary's patient's out of control." I see Mary's patient down the hallway, pushing her IV pole, and the patient piddles, makes a big puddle in the hallway, exactly like the Exorcist Reagan in the movie when she comes in to the
Right.
party. So there's more to the story. It gets a little less interesting. But I took that one little, "You know who loves you, Mary." I have to water it down a little bit for TikTok because, it gets twitchy. It gets twitchy. So, I get flagged and banned and whatever for some of those things. You can't say the word Satan, apparently, even though that's what
What? Wait. You can't. Wait a minute. You can't say
it
the word
flags
Satan
me.
on
It
TikTok.
flags me. You can't say that. You have to be very careful. So I have to modify my stories water them down a little bit for the TikTok setting, which is where I get most of the love is on TikTok. But that's just one example. So when I wrote the story, again, it's watered down. I think, the dark one or the dark Lord or the dark loves you. And you have to kind of tie it together. I can't just leave it there. I can't be like, okay, Mary's patient piddled in the hallway, the end. So in Florence's story, in Florence's telling, it indicates that the patient lets Mary know that the Dark Lord has been watching her and that she has indeed been favored. So she drives home and she prays, and then she's praying for protection, but she doesn't know if she should pray for protection or against protection, because who's going to be protecting her? She's not quite sure. Raises a lot of questions. And sometimes it's a little tricky to do that for the TikTok setting. You got to make your stories condensed. You got to keep the interest,
Like yeah.
They don't want me to be long-winded. I love to be, but they don't want that. So you got to condense it. So the story's all tied up in a little bow in about 2 minutes.
Is it 2 minutes or is it up to 10 minutes you can tell a story?
All of my stories, I believe, I don't know if I have anything more than 5. More than 5. You watch your analytics and you're like, oh, after, 2 seconds, people are tuning out. I got to get everything I need to say in a very short, condensed time frame.
I hate that about social media.
Me too.
Our friend Nanette here has a question for you. She wants to know, what were the reasons for becoming a nurse?
That is not an interesting story. I never chose nursing as a career. My father chose it for me. He was like, look, I graduated high school early. I've been a nurse since I had my RN at the age of 18. I was a baby. And he just came home and he's like, look, your high school's getting a little rough. I either have to send you to private school next year, or I heard about this nursing program down the road. So I took the city bus, to my RN program, and I graduated in 2 years. The program, it was chosen for me. But what a great fit. It really truly is my passion. And here I am 43 years later, and I don't know what else I would have become. So it wasn't a passion of mine at the time. Now, I will tell you, so I started out with this little 2-year degree. I've continued. I have a doctorate's degree. So in nursing, I've pursued it. I've stuck with it. I have worked days and nights for the last 43 years, and I work a lot. So the how I became a nurse story, not interesting, but why I stayed with it. There you go.
I think the longer you stay with it, I think it's more because I think you get more compassionate as the longer you stay. I think when you first start out, it's a career. But I think the longer you stay, I do think that the more compassionate you are. My mom was a surgical nurse.
Was she? I think over the years, sometimes probably because of my age, sometimes people think you're cold and prickly, but you do. There's always a situation that, touches you in the heart and you're like, oh my God, there I am. I am still human. I do have feelings and emotions. In my role, though, if something becomes emotional and overwhelming, I am able to remove myself, have my few minutes to release those emotions, and then return back to work. So,
is that where some of the stories came from when you started thinking about, creating stories? Was it just like some people like myself? I do this as my outlet. This is my stress releaser right here, talking to people. For you, was that the same for you when you started, collecting your stories? Was that a way for you to release what you have seen on the nursing floor?
Yeah, what a great way to do it too.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who knows Florence has seen that she's an AI character, and I thought, it was for me a little safe way to start out. But she is, and I thought, how clever am I? Let me tell you. So I'm like, Florence Frightengale. I thought, how clever is Florence Frightengale? And then I'm talking to some of the younger people, 20, 30 years old and asking them, do you know who Florence Nightingale is? And they don't know. So maybe not, I'm not as clever as I thought I was. But what a great voice. She is, I use the term eternal witness for her because she can flow through being, a ghostly character. She flows through the past, through the present, and it gives me an opportunity to take those experiences, those shadows I've seen, the stories that we tell at 3 a.m., and tie it into one happy little place, Hollow Hill. But yeah, what a great creative outlet. And I love her. And I found my passion, bringing this creative storytelling to the general public. And it's been very well received. Thank you for
Yeah,
that, everybody.
people are always interested. I mean, and to see that it kills two birds with one stone. Allows the outlet plus allows the creativity of it, and and you can also teach people. Like teach how like a lot of like I'm sure like you see a lot of patients roll through and they're terrified. They don't especially the ones that are going to be being admitted to the hospital. They're it's a scary situation. You don't know what to expect or what's going to happen. Only thing you know is that you're being wheeled up to a room, um, and you really hope and pray that you actually get an angel, a nurse, a good nurse. Um, I think they're all good, but I think some are better than others. Um,
I wouldn't
uh,
argue that.
I, I, well, I'm going to put it this way. I've been to one hospital. I've been to one hospital where I wouldn't take anybody on death row there, other than to have them do the procedure because they were just heavy-handed and just like. But then I have University of Michigan. That's a that's a great hospital. From top to bottom, that's a great hospital.
Well, it
That's
has that reputation. And I do like to align
uh,
myself with facilities that have that strive for excellence. You're not going to have perfection because we are all humans, but we strive for that. We want to give a good patient care experience and we want our patients to have excellent outcomes, the best outcomes. We can't always guarantee a happy outcome, but
mhm.
we want the best. We want the best we can do. And if you're not going to leave that hospital, I want to work with people who will love you up, not just dust you off once a week. People that are going to be
What,
there for you.
what, our good friend Waffles just came in. He's been feeling underneath the weather this week. So
Oh,
I have a nurse here. I have a nurse here, Michael. So that's our good friend Michael, who owns the best YouTube channel name on YouTube.
what's
Uh,
that?
Heroic Waffles.
Oh, I love it.
Is that the best?
Pretty
Isn't that the
fantastic.
best? That's hilarious. No, I've
Michael
never
is
seen a more fun.
hilarious.
I've never seen a better name than Heroic Waffles on here.
Wonderful.
Makes me laugh. Let's see. And Nanette says, "You seem like a very brave woman and an inspiration. I love the story. She just was such an inspiration. Let's see. Oh, any yeah, I'll take a you paint that you picked her as a sort of outlet for your story. Yeah, because I saw this talk about Florence because when you and I met on TikTok, I saw that and I thought you were a cosplayer when I saw that. I knew it was an AI, but but I also thought you were a cosplayer. I didn't know that you were a registered nurse.
A real
That's
nerd.
why I came to you. Yeah, that's what I came to you. But when you said he says you're a storyteller, and I'm going, okay, are you a cosplayer? Are you or do you write? Do you have a blog or or what that sort of thing? And then you said that you created the AI, and then you just tell your stories. And I really do appreciate the fact that because a lot of people would really react differently. But when I came up to you and I say, hey, come on here, tell your stories. I don't, and then you asked me, because I asked you if you're comfortable coming on here as you are now, because I've had cosplayers come up in costume. I've had horror hosts come up in costume and stay in character, and I don't mind that at all. But I'm glad you came in here today as this to share your story.
Yeah.
What was what was your first what was your what was your first time that you saw something that you were like shook you? Let's go with the paranormal. You know, like you said, I believe you 100% when they say that you see a lot and you experienced a lot. But what was the first thing you ever experienced, and how did you react to it?
There, this is going back to my childhood. And I think my sister is a little more sensitive than I am to the paranormal. And she would tell me stories that actually happened to her. I'll tell you, it's interesting because, she's a little girl. She's 5 years old. And for Christmas, I think the bank actually gave it. Back in the day, they would give toasters and things like that away. I think every year when I was a kid, they gave away Raggedy Ann. So my sister had these Raggedy Ann and these Raggedy Andy dolls, and she hated them. She told me how evil they were. And we shared a room, and she tucked it at them. She had like three or four or five, and she tucked them away under the nightstand as far as she could because they scared the hell out of her. So now let's fast forward to The Conjuring and Annabelle. And that Annabelle was a doggone Raggedy Ann doll in real life. And I think back to my sister's days of where she would tell me how these evil dolls would, just let her know that they were not fun, bright, happy dolls, that they were sinister in some form. So I remember even back then. Or again, let's talk to my sister. Our house was a two-story house. We shared our bedroom on the second floor. And she would tell me that she had the bed closest to the window. I didn't see this, but she would tell me that when she would look out the window at night, and she stopped doing that, that there would be faces looking back in at her. Is that just the imagination of a kindergartner? Perhaps. But again, I fast forward it, and she's still sensitive to these phenomenon. And I think, wow, that must have been really frightening for a kid. So we also, again, going back to that time period, this is, 1970 something in Illinois outside of Chicago, which is where I grew up, and the two-story house. And at the very top of the staircase, there was a picture of my aunt. Now, my aunt is actually quite a beautiful woman, but this picture was terrifying in every way. And when I tell you, I think this picture just shifted enough to let me know that there was something attached to it that was a bit unholy. I cannot lie. And both my brother, sister, and I all, that picture terrified us, and we would try and scurry past it, to our respective rooms, because there was the eyes that would move just enough, or the smile. And I talk about this in Florence, where, mirrors and pictures, they let you know that there's something in there behind it. It isn't just an inanimate object.
I was not aware of that. I have not seen Annabelle, but I was not aware that Annabelle was a Raggedy Ann doll. So
In
I'm
real
taking
life.
it. I'm taking it the people who own Raggedy Ann probably did not want them to throw that. That's the reason why we didn't see it in The Conjuring because
Right,
of
right. They made it a different.
wow.
They made it, a scary doll. But in real life, when you look at Annabelle, she's Raggedy Ann. She's an oversized one. My sister had smaller ones, but she swore that there was something sinister in these dolls and disliked them immensely. And yet she kept getting them as gifts. So, there's irony there.
Uh, well, most children they are open when they're young. Anywhere between 6 to 12, 7 to 13, they are more wide open for paranormal experiences and even other things than not.
Agreed.
Because yeah, I mean it's weird. It's like the older they get, I mean, maybe that just goes away. But when they're young, that's when they get hit with everything in the kitchen sink as far as paranormal goes, where they will actually believe they'll understand it. I know it sounds weird. They'll understand enough to know that it's not right. They may not know what it is, but they know that it's not right. So yeah. Oh, I'm thinking about a Raggedy Ann doll, and I'm just thinking about how it could be misconceived as that's terrifying.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
see,
You
that's
give it to the child lovingly as a
yeah,
cuddly toy. Here, take this to bed with you. And the child has to tuck it away as much as she can because it terrified her. It terrified her. She won't have anything to do with a Raggedy Ann doll to this day. And now here we are looking,
wow,
she's near 60 years old, my baby sister.
yeah, yeah. She got scarred. She got scarred. That
Traumatized.
happens. Well, people are like that with clowns too. People get creeped out by clowns. I've always thought about how weird that is to me. It's like I don't understand how you could be scared of a clown. It's just a clown. But
Oh,
but
I get
boy,
it.
yeah, people just like they freak out. Um, any clown stories?
I don't have any personal experiences with bad clown stories. I actually do find them a little bit unnerving, which is interesting because again, I think that's a transition over time because back again in the day, clowns were fun, clowns were funny. You go to the
Hmm.
circus, oh, they're here to entertain you. And then
Right.
comes along, when I was a kid, Bozo was huge. Who didn't love
Yeah.
Bozo the clown? Who did not love
Right.
Bozo the clown? He was amazing. We all loved him. And I think Bozo would be met with a whole different emotion. He might be a little more terrifying to people. I did do a recent story, because I like to glom onto some of the things that scare people. So Florence did do a telling of a clown because clowns are terrifying. Everything scary I try and bring to Hollow Hill. And the Florence story, actually, the clown comes to visit hospice patients and then judges them so but personally I've never had a bad interaction with a clown, but I don't love them. I don't love them.
No. I love when they come out of like Bozo the Clown. Of course, some of us might remember Chuckles.
Chuckles.
Chuckles the Clown.
Chuckles the clown. Yeah, back in the day, I think clowns were far more well received, and now today they're
Hmm.
just scary. Nobody wants
Yeah.
a clown at a birthday party anymore.
No, no,
Scare the
no. You're
children.
absolutely right.
Scare them good.
Now, as far as the Florence, like I've now heard you mention how Florence. So Florence is your avatar, basically, the person telling the stories. So, when did you create Florence? How and has Florence did you create Florence as that outlet, or did you create Florence sort of like semi protection?
Both. I think both.
Like
And Florence, the Frightengale, it's the Frightengale Files now because I started out with Florence. Okay, so goes back. This is recent. I started April of this year when I sat down and I was showing avatars to my children, and they're like, "What are you going to do with that?" And I said, "I'm going to tell some scary stories." And they're like, I don't know how." And so I asked them, "Sit down with me, help me figure this out." And some were more helpful than others. I have 5 children. Some were more helpful than others. I kind of fumbled my way through it, and I made my first Florence avatar. The one that was originally my avatar, is the profile picture on Florence Frightengale, or at Florence Frightengale. She's the face initially, and my initial plan was to tell all my stories through Florence, through her voice, through her eyes. She was the one initially. I think there's maybe 10 videos in the beginning, but then I decided, well, you know what I'd like to do is she's kind of a great character. I had somebody do an artist rendering, so they drew her. So now she wasn't just an AI computer generated drawing. She's an actual artistic, a work of
properly.
art. So then I went and I sent her for copyright. But in the interim, because I wanted to bring in the new Florence character, I was like, well, what do I do? So I took her down for a while and started telling stories through some of my other characters that maybe you've met. I started out with, there's an undertaker. His name is Mr. Ellis. And when you look at one of the videos is Ellis's backstory, and he actually was abandoned at Hollow Hill. And he's an eternal character. He will never pass away, but he's the undertaker there. And he has quite a spiritual connection with the dead. He's not at all afraid of them. He will do battle with them, but he has a lot of experience with them. He knows the dead. So there's Mr. Ellis. His story was so interesting to me when I wrote it. The nuns took him in. They're a big presence at Hollow Hill, and they wouldn't even give him a name initially, and they didn't give him any love. So he was actually raised on the whispers of Hollow Hill. Makes him a great character. Then I started using, because nuns are so present at Hollow Hill, Sister Lamenta. Oh my gosh. Again, I have such a, she gets me in the feels. Sister Lamenta is a great storyteller. And when you look at her, she's drawn to look very scary. But you know what? She's got the biggest heart. She too has such a sad story, but she is there to help. She was in Crimea with Florence. They knew each other way back then. And Lamenta has kind of a sad background as well, but she helps the dying and the dead to make a safe crossover into the beyond the veil. So she's a great character, but she looks so scary. So your first instinct is to be terrified. But then when you hear her, she gives such love. But she's the one, and I don't know if you've ever seen on TikTok a lot, people would be like, I claim no evil. Well, there's no evil to be claimed. She's a great character. She looks scary, but there is nothing evil about her. Now, she does have to handle sinister things. She's met a naughty angel, the death and dying. They're not always good characters, but she helps them along. So she started telling stories. Vivian Hart. Vivian is now, she's 18 years old, cute as a button when you look at her, always very prim and proper, and she has a sweet little voice, but she's your sinister character. She's the one you got to watch out for. She's not there to help you in any way. She will take your body. She will take your soul. She will take your mind. She's so naughty. So I started utilizing these characters and built a foundation to retell my stories until I could bring Florence back. And it's so, I thought, sometimes you think, oh my gosh, I'm so entirely clever. And I don't know if the rest of the world thinks I ever that, but I brought Florence back and she looks a little ragtag. She's not a refined AI character anymore. She's like, this is what happens when, you neglect yourself for 150 years, you come back looking a little bit more tattered and torn, and she does. So I brought Florence back, and then I could use her again to tell some stories. But then what I started to do was generate, I still bring back my old characters because they are my foundation. But if you look at videos now,
how many characters do you have? I mean,
so
how
many
characters
now.
are
So many
now. Do you transfer the stories? Let's say today you go to work tonight. And you go to work today, and let's just say there's a like a DUI guy come through come through ER, and he's hurt a family or whatever, and so you're angry at that because you see it. Now you go home, and now you go back to the girl who's the evil one. Do you tell that story? Does the story fit the character that she's telling? Like, it's not a happy story. It's not a good story. It's a bad story. So I'm gonna put that through that girl.
I sure can. I pick a character that fits the story, that tells the story best. But I've started creating avatars to fit the story. I'll tell exactly something that happened. It seems very benign. So I'm working. This is a couple of weeks ago. This is very recent. And because I work a week on and I take a week off typically. So for my weeks that I am working, I try and preload my videos so that I can rest in between. But it seems so benign. So I'm sitting at the nurse's station and we're conducting whatever business we have to do. And I'm talking to a couple nurses, and a gentleman walks up with his speakerphone. And now he leans over the desk, and he's not talking to me. He's not talking to any of the other nursing staff, but he's having this very loud, very intrusive conversation on his speakerphone. And I actually did ask him to conduct his business elsewhere. But so then I came home, and then this week, I think sometime in the last couple of days, there's a character. Now, it isn't one of those Victorian characters because that doesn't fit Victorian times. So I made a modern day nurse, a nurse in 2025, who is very attached to their speakerphone, and how the consequences. Hollow Hill does not play around. You know, if you're going to misbehave in Hollow Hill, be intrusive, be offensive, be a problem, Hollow Hill will put the smack down on you.
Uh,
So that's what
how,
happened.
how close are you to Silent Hill?
I don't, you know, I honestly don't even know how I wound up on the Hollow Hill title of the hospital. It started out as something initially, but Hollow Hill just kept flowing through
So
my life.
it's almost like, you know, if you didn't know any better, you know, if you heard if you know, if you told this story without any of the background for context, the way you're telling it, sounds like multiple personality, and it is. But how I look at it is, I sort of look like each personality that you're discussing. It feels like a book. Like, I'm going to pull out this book, this character, and that's what I'm going to talk about today's story. Like this guy with the cell phone, and I'm going to give it to this person. It's how I feel, you
Yeah.
know. And so, wow, and with 43 years of experience, I am sure. I would definitely caution you on one thing, though. I would definitely caution you on going too many characters. That might actually be a little stressful. But boy, oh boy, if you had 8 characters or however many you
Oh,
feel
I have
comfortable with.
many, because it's one of the things about being AI is I can create all of these wonderful characters and give them a voice and a personality. And I get feedback
Are
all
you
the
giving
time.
them are you giving them a voice, or are you giving your patients a voice?
I'm allowing the patients to speak through my characters. I'm
Yes.
allowing the
Yes.
staff, because a lot of this is
Yes.
people come running up to me now that I've been doing Florence. They're like, "Oh my gosh, oh my God, Florence, you have to hear what happened to me the other night. I'm in the patient's room. This happened very recently." And she said, and the patient kept saying to me, "Do you see that lady standing in the corner over there?" And she said, "I did not see a lady standing in the corner there." And the patient kept telling the nurse that the shadow kept saying the nurse owed her money. So she's like, "You got to hear this. I didn't see it, but over and over again, this patient kept telling me I have to pay this old woman some money." So you hear all the time, they're like, oh my God, Florence, you know what happened to me today? We had this machine, and you know what happened? Some strange name came up, and it was the birthday of a kid, and we got, on the monitor, it just kind of popped up to life. Oh my God, I can't believe that happened. And anybody who's in healthcare, I think anybody that's a nurse has had rooms come to life. There's no patient in there, but the call light goes off,
Yes.
sometimes specifically at 3 a.m. or whatever, every night. And people are a little shy to go in those rooms, or monitors
Yeah.
pop up, or you hear static on the intercom system, and it's, whispering something you wish you hadn't heard. I don't think there's a nurse or a tech or a radiology tech or anybody who's working in the hospital, particularly at night, that hasn't had some interaction with the paranormal.
I remember hearing Bill Lawrence. He was the creator of Scrubs, and they were talking to the cast, and they were sitting there saying that because they shot in an abandoned hospital, and they would, that's where they film at. They film, and so
I didn't know
a
that.
lot of yeah, a lot of the characters were sitting there saying how there were places in that hospital they would not go because they suspected they would see and experience things, shadows. They hear equipment being moved around. I mean,
Yeah.
and you could tell them they were just like, yeah, this is a really creepy place to be in. I mean, we had a psychiatric hospital where I lived at for not. I lived right by it. It was like maybe a mile away, a couple of miles away from me, Northfield Psychiatric Hospital. And I'm telling you, even though I know there's probably a security over there or whatnot, there was something extremely unnerving when you would go walk for a walk, and all of a sudden you see a black hospital, the building, and then you see a light flash on. You just know, your logical mind is telling you that's probably the security guard checking, but there's also that part of you goes there and we're like, why would the hell would a security guard want to go up there
Right.
in the middle of the night. That's
Right.
why he doesn't do that. That's why his ass is down on the ground floor, because he doesn't want to go up there and then the light comes on. Or even creepier, when the light comes on when there's no power. Oh my.
Yeah,
Um,
scary stuff, right? But you as an adult and me as an adult, we try and rationalize these things. And that's what Florence does. She takes that rationalization right out of it. We don't try and rationalize anymore. We just tell the story.
yes. So now you're using the fright. Now, how did the Frightengale start? Now, what came first? Did you start telling your stories firsthand, and then you say, hey, you know what? Like I had asked you if you had written them down, if you had, and you said that you
I
had
do have
not.
a book. I do have
Oh,
a
you
book.
do. Okay.
I did compile the stories. It's called the Grimoire of Hollow Hill. I'm not sure how well written it is. I'm not saying, hey, buy my
Doesn't
book.
matter.
It's literary genius. I'm just saying I did compile some of those stories and put them into a book after I began the Frightengales, because it was, everybody's like, you got to write this down, Tina. I want to be
Yeah.
able to read this when I'm on my cruise. I want to be able to read this when I'm at the pool on my week off. I want to be able to read this. So I wrote down some stories. But really, the inception was after sitting there again at 3 a.m., all my friends telling the stories. And I had this eureka moment where I was like, I'm gonna put this in a format. And I went to social media, which is odd because I'm not particularly social media savvy. All I had at the time was Facebook. I didn't have TikTok. I didn't have Instagram. I didn't have Snapchat. I didn't have any of it. Now I have all of it. I'm more interactive on some platforms than others, but I went directly to, let me tell my story on social media. And then I created the character of Florence Frightengale. Again, just an aha eureka moment. I thought, oh, how clever am I? Like I said, we talked about that, maybe not as clever as I thought. The younger generation isn't sure who that is. But then I just began, I sat down and I created my stories, and I've modified my platform over the time by the introduction of some new characters. But the stories are always fresh. The stories are always new, and the stories always have some background in my reality. Sometimes it's just a shadow I saw or a story someone told me, or, you got to do stories on top, Batman.
Nanette has a question for you. It says, did you get in of your character, or did you get in of your characters from other characters in your stories? Let's see if I can read this right. Did you get into of our characters from other characters in your stories, and people from TVs and shows and books? I guess she wants to know, were any of your characters inspired? Did you create them? Were they inspired by any of the characters that you saw from shows growing up?
No, they're all straight from my imagination, or inspired by. So one of the things, and this tickled me pink. So I'm roaming around the hospital one night and talking about Florence. This is when she's pretty new, and one of the staff members says, "Florence Frightengale, I've heard of her. That's you?" I'm like, "It is me. It is me." Tickled pink, because I've got like 1,000 followers at that point. And she said, "You're all over the high school." So I was like, oh, well, that means I should maybe make a character that would appeal to high schoolers. So I went and I created a character called Nixie Moreau. And Nixie is the dream weaver. Be careful what you wish for. You put your dreams out there, your desires to Nixie, and it's going to go sideways. I promise you. But, you think she's helping you, she doesn't.
It sort of makes sense, to have a lot of different characters, because good Lord, do we have a lot of medical conditions? How? If you just give us a round number, how many different types of medical incidences have you seen? Types of incidences, like, a broken arm, a broken finger, a broken knee.
Probably
how many medical cases on file are there that we as a society experience?
It's got to be.
Thousands?
It's probably in the millions. It's unlimited because I'm going to go to work tonight, and we'll probably see 100 people in the emergency room, and probably 80 different diagnoses will walk through the door tonight. Someone's going to have a broken arm, some will have a kidney stone, some will be maybe touched by a bat and will need the rabies vaccine. I mean, I'm going to see everything soup to nuts tonight. I don't even know how to quantify the number of medical issues. Everybody's so different. God, the human body is amazing. And it leads to a lot of interesting moments for people.
That's funny. That's really funny. You mentioned about the bat. Our good friend Al Ricard, not here right now, but I'm going to let him know about this. He's our resident bat. I do mean that he's our resident bat, so that's hilarious. Now, I guess that would be wow. I'm just trying to think of all the different stories that you could take out of the hospital because of all the different patients, and much less the ER. ER would just be absolutely insane.
I probably could limit myself to that. I could probably sit down in the emergency room tonight and make note of all the things that come and go, and have, oh my gosh, unlimited data and
now you have to be careful about that, right? I mean, you can't just sit there and write what you're seeing because that's what's happening in real time. So do you have like a different way of writing?
Yes, there's laws surrounding that. I can't come and tell you that Mr. Tom Jones today, this is what happened to him. I have to be very careful. And I am very careful. I don't allude to, where I'm working currently. I don't allude to when these stories took place. Maybe it was yesterday, or maybe it was 2 decades ago, or,
Right.
So I do have to be careful in that regard. Still, there's plenty of inspiration for plenty of amazing stories as we go along. And I take a lot of inspiration from history. Oh, I love history. I'm a huge history buff. And when you look at history, there's so many interesting stories and so many treatments that went awry. One of my nurses in one of my stories, paregoric was very big in Victorian times, and she was dosing the babies to keep them calm, to make them happy, because when she gave the dose, the babies went to sleep, indicating that they were much calmer. Crying baby is not necessarily a bad thing, but she accidentally overdosed the whole ward, and every baby in the nursery went silent. So that was a real risk back in Victorian times. They didn't have the checks and balances we have today. So I can bring that into play too, or let's see, human beings, they're very naughty. We all know about the Holocaust, but what about Unit 731?
I'm deeply saddened to say that you would think that we would all know about the Holocaust, but the way this country's going, it's less and less that people do, which is why we're sliding to where we're sliding to, is because there is no more history. History's not being taught anymore. It's a scary situation. You would think that, but it's shockingly, watching what happened with we won't get into it, but watching the reaction to Charlie Kirk tells me right away that Americans have forgotten their history. It's shockingly so. I mean, if they
You're actually not wrong. You're not wrong about that.
So I was just thinking too of bringing back all the different. Wow, bringing up all the medical conditions from the past. I mean, that would be
trympaning and drilling holes into people's head to let the demons out. I used that a couple of times. I love that. Why did we do that? Does that sound right to you? We should be drilling holes into people's head to let the demons out? It doesn't make sense. But yet that was a very common practice, again, in Victorian times.
How I think the weirdest one, and once in a while they'll bring it up because it's absolutely hilarious, women's hysteria.
Women's hysteria. Yeah. Yes. Oh, naughty humans.
I guess the safest way I can tell this is there was a clip on a show called Desperate Housewives, and there was one of the main characters that was having fun with her friend, and all of a sudden she's, she all of a sudden she just like, I gotta go. And she dashes to the doctor, and she's talking to the doctor, and she's explaining what happened to her. And she thinks, I think I must be coming down with something. And the doctor says, well, I know what it is. Have you ever experienced an orgasm before? And I just thought about the historicals, when, and women used to be, the thing is though, women used to be put institutionalized because of that.
It's true.
That's just amazing to me when I read that. When like, but dude, that's your, oh Jesus Christ. You just shake your head. It's amazing that we have survived to get to this point in our society.
Sometimes you wonder, how did we persevere despite ourselves? Yeah.
I think if anybody has any doubts about paranormal, I think that's the really question you just ask them. It's like, you don't really believe in any of the paranormal stuff. Well, let me ask you, how do we get here? Because we have done so much to destroy ourselves 20 times over, but somehow we have managed to still get here. Uh, I think there is something to be said for a paranormal, or at least aliens, at the very least. So uh,
Too many
now,
people have had experiences in the paranormal to discount all of them, and shared experiences. I have, again, maybe been sitting at the nurse's station, and I'll be sitting with a friend, and we'll see the same shadow maybe cross our paths or go into a room and be like, "Did you see that? I saw that. Did you see that?" How do you discount that? If it was just me, I'd be like, "Oh, my imagination running wild." But when I have a shared experience with somebody else, it's a little harder to deny.
mm, yes. Um, so when you do you now do you what's it like for you after a busy night? I mean, do you come home and then you just write down your notes and what have I noticed that you said you write down some of in the hospital too. But when you get home, then you do flesh out the stories,
No,
and
I
yeah.
might typically, cell phones are great, right? So I might
Mm,
jot down a little note to myself so that I don't forget it. But mostly after a tough night at work, which is often, I just come home, walk through the shower, go straight to bed, go to bed.
yeah.
So I try, and in the moment, if I'm able to make a short note to keep it fresh in my memory, I'll do that. And again,
What
remember, I'm just taking a little piece of what happened. I'm not writing down the entire story. I'm not recounting the event. I'm
right.
extrapolating one sentence or one little thing that someone brought to me.
Right, because you got to be. I mean, I guess that's a pretty narrow tightrope. To you can't write. You can only, I guess you could change it. You could switch genders. I
Yeah,
guess that's probably one way to defeat it.
it's very
So
anonymous. I don't think
yeah,
anybody would recognize any of the patients in any of my stories, intentionally so. I don't want them to. We can change
no.
everything. We can change gender. We can change age. We change it all, soup to nuts, but still have the essence of the story in there.
What's been some of your, like, what's been some of some of the hardest stories that you've done, or I guess I mean some of the hardest experiences you've had, something that's just absolutely just shaking you to the core, like, man, this is a nightmare. Or on the other side, soup to nuts, so to speak. Tell us about let us know about a story that was just so overwhelmingly happy. It had a great ending to it, like a remission or what have you, and you just like, I just can't wait to get out of here and talk about it. Have you how I mean, is it more wins than losses when you go to a hospital, when you come out of it? Is it more wins or losses? What's it like? I
I
mean,
guess it depends on the definition. Well, what outcome are you hoping for? Because not always is um, survival the best case scenario for people. Because
mm,
you have to be very realistic. So a patient comes in and they're in cardiac arrest, and sometimes you get them back, but they're 115 years old, and I can buy them a little bit of time. I can buy them an extra 2 or 3 days. Is that a success? It is, I guess, if you've got family coming from somewhere else and they want to say their goodbyes, maybe. But just because I have electrical activity, is that a win? Is that a success? Not necessarily so. So nothing is really cut and dry. But have we had experiences? And I've written a couple of these down where I think I have 2 or 3 stories over the course of the Frightengale Files where somebody said to me, Tina, you have to do a story about the Top Hat Man. This is a guy I would see at the end of the hallway just once a year at a facility in which I worked. And I don't really know what the Top Hat Man was about. I don't know what he did. So in my scenario, I brought the Top Hat Man in and I made him, he's actually deaf. But there's a younger patient who goes in. The team is actively coding the patient. They're working her. They're about to give up. And the Top Hat Man waves his wand and she springs back to life and ultimately is discharged from the hospital. That's a win. And you do see that on rare occasion. More often than not, a post-code patient does not leave the hospital in the upright position. Every now and again it happens, though. Was it the Top Hat Man? Was it something magical? Was it God? What was it? I don't know. But in my scenario, I tied the Top Hat Man into that.
Now, we've been talking about how you've been seeing these things. You you met some of the other nurses that have seen the same thing. And most of the time it's been through your eyes. Have the patients, have they shared with you some of the things they've seen? Some of
They
those
do.
that have had those moments where toward the end there, then they come back.
Of course.
How I mean, I'm fascinated by that. They're on their way out, and the light will be there, and they're going toward there, and then sometimes they get pulled back. You hear about people who've been, basically dead on the table for, like a drowning victim or a frozen victim, and they'll bring them back, and they'll sit there, experience. They'll share their experience with that. Um, how much of that? I mean, how much of that experience is?
You
I mean,
always You almost always patients who are able to speak at the end of life see dead loved ones. They start speaking to people that you can't see. They do see the light. Sometimes they see evil, though. Sometimes they see evil. Don't let them get me. Don't let them get me. But let me tell you a very personal story. I have a daughter. She's looking at 40 now, but when she was about 10 years ago, she was in the hospital and not expected to live. And she was, she had an asthma attack of all the crazy things. And she was in my particular hospital for a month. And then we found out that she was beyond our capability, sent her into another hospital. And they told me every day, Florence, I don't think this is going to have a happy ending, Florence. I don't think this is going to have a happy ending. It did have a happy ending. She woke up, she was discharged. She now has children of her own. So it was great. But let me tell you what she saw when she was having her experience. So she's in a medically induced coma. And when she wakes up, she says to me, Mom, I was floating around on a boat in the middle of an ocean and surrounded by whales. And there was a guy on the boat with me, just one person. His name was Michael. And Michael had a very real story. And I didn't think to look him up to see if he was real. But Michael, let's say he had a last name. He had recently passed away in a motorcycle accident from California. We are not. Michael had 2 children. Michael had a wife. And so Michael and my daughter are on this boat for I don't know how long. And one day Michael says to her, I have to go. I have to leave you now. You cannot come with me. You can't come with me. And Michael leaves her. And as I've already said, my daughter lived and has a very happy life now. I think Michael was her guardian angel. And that's a story that happened to my daughter. She woke up and she told me that story. Wow, I get chills just thinking about it even now. What a great story.
I wonder how we are. I wonder how that works. Like how I don't. Like does every human being get a guardian angel? I mean, it's sort of to me it's sort of weird. You get a guardian angel, and he works for you, but his didn't work for Michael. I just wonder how that works.
Well, again, what is the outcome? Maybe, you have to have faith, and maybe Michael is in a better place, and my daughter will someday get to that place. I don't know, because I'm not privy to that information. I'm not meant to know, but I do know that my daughter came back from 3 months in a medically induced coma and had that story to tell me. Wow. Wow.
I mean,
That's
that's a
personal.
yeah, that's a great story. I mean, she came back.
She can't.
Glad she's
Yeah.
doing well.
Yeah, but I remember, so I'm in the hospital in which I work, and I'm very closely connected to the staff there. And I remember the chaplain coming in and saying, "Tina, you just got to pray." And I said, I am praying. I said, I am
Yeah.
praying. I said, but what if God tells me no? What if I don't get what I want? What if what I want is not in the greater good? What if?
Well,
So I don't know. So there it goes again. What's the better outcome? What's the best outcome? I don't
see,
know.
I
I know what
that
I want.
it's really interesting because that that is it's funny. It's like you hear that like God has a plan. God has a plan, and I've heard that now for 15 years. My wife passed away in 2013,
I'm sorry to hear that.
and so people come up to me and they'll sit there and say, well, God must have had a reason. And it's really really hard, and I explain to
Right.
people who come and tell me. I say we're just human. Our lifespans are very short. He's God. He's the creator of the heaven and the earth. I mean, we go outside at night, we're a marvel what he's made, right? And this is what I tell people. I says, he gave his only son to us, right? His son died for us. How long did God wait to get his son back after his son died? Now, he lived on the earth for 33 years, worked among men, but he died. How many days did it take for God to go ahead and bring back his son?
3 days.
43.
43.
Three, yeah, three for the risen, and he stayed another 40 days before he left.
Oh, okay. I do know that.
43 days is all that God could handle without his son. And he's asking us humans, like my wife's been gone for 12 years.
Was it sudden,
12,
Patrick? Was it sudden?
no,
Did you expect
no,
it?
yeah,
Lingered.
no, she has
So
a
you had
uterine
that
cancer.
same experience where you probably prayed day and night to get
Mm-hmm.
what you want. Not yeah, and that's all I could say is I know what I want.
Yeah.
I want my daughter. I want my daughter. Please God, give me my daughter. And
Yeah.
he to me said yes. Sometimes he says no.
See, that's the thing that gets me. It's like, okay, I understand saying no to someone who deserves it. Someone who deserves it.
Oh,
I'll say this, okay? We talk about God and God's mysterious ways, right? I believe God loves justice. He created justice. I think God, even though right at this moment we're not seeing that, but eventually I think we will. But I do believe that God allowed what happened to Charlie Kirk to happen. God said, you know what? Nope. And he took him like that. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes bad people get it. But more often than not, it's the good people that suffer. And it's like you
so
sit there
hard
and
to make
say,
sense.
yeah,
It's so hard to make sense of it. And I can only say that I'm just not privy to the plan. So, I
no.
experience the paranormal and sometimes it's hard to decide what's a good outcome and what's a better outcome, and just because I'm not privy to that great plan.
I mean, there's got to be. I mean, as far as the triumphs go, and God knows, I've known you've seen some miracles. There's
Have
not a doubt in my
every
mind.
now and again, every now and again, I'll say, "Oh, there goes Lazarus." There they are. There's Lazarus. Hey, Lazarus. Yeah, because a true miracle will happen. Somebody you've
Right.
counted down every once in a while, but not often. Not very often. Very over the course of my 43 years, I'll bet there's a handful of Lazaruses that I've met.
And then you talk to the families. I mean, now and that I mean that doctors and nurses, they come talk to the families. Um, I personally feel like starting with my own mother. We're talking about guardian angels. I really believe the angels are nurses. My wife had three, and I just wouldn't know what we would have done without them. I truly don't. three oncology nurses. I don't know what would have happened. They really just saved my sanity, for sure. Um, so I mean, and I guess I was going to ask you, besides your coworkers, do patients ever come back to you and want, if they, I guess they don't find out what you do. I guess that's something you can't allow to happen is patients can't meet Florence.
No, they can't. They can't. And at this point in my career, I'm not as mired at the bedside as I once was. I'm not. I have some patient connection, but not as much as I used to. I'm more administrative at this point.
Mm.
So I don't. They don't get to meet me in that capacity. Back in the day, before Florence, I could sit at the bedside and talk to people, and they could share with me more of what they're going through. I don't have that connection right now. But I hear the stories through the staff that care for them. And I like that you had a positive experience with some of the nurses because that's why we're there. There's some pretty special people in this world, and a lot of them made it into nursing.
Yeah, I mean, oncology nurses are, and hospice nurses too. Hospice nurses are that's a whole different animal.
I did that for
God
a
broke.
while. I did that for a
Yeah.
little bit.
Oh, I don't know how long. One of the oncology nurses, for my wife, she went into hospice nursing. That's the one where I hear about that and I just get so scared because it's like, man, of all the places to go to, I mean, there's absolutely zero wins, zero, and it's like you
Again,
gotta
it's a
have.
matter of perspective. I put my father in hospice, and I was very comfortable in doing so because when the end is near, when medical intervention becomes an exercise in futility, you
Mhm.
just want to love them up, and you want someone to love them up, even if because you can't stay awake 24/7. I want someone to be loving in my absence, and that's actually I'm a big advocate for dignity in dying. So you do get those wins in hospice. You do get those wins.
Do you believe yourself as a RN? Do you believe in uh end of life assistance? Like I know California has a law where you're allowed to to end your suffering on your own terms.
Because I've
As
seen so much suffering. I am.
Yeah, it's like it was funny because I remember when they asked me about the DNR. It's just you want to do DNR, and it didn't take me any seconds, and I said no, no. I mean, I want to, DNR, and I never regretted that, not for a second. Even though when she passed, I was on the way, so I wasn't there, and people said, "Have you regretted that?" And I said, "Of course I do, but I don't regret what I did. I knew that was a chance that I had to take,
It's a
but
decision made
I'm
with
not.
love. It's a
Yeah,
decision made with love. How
yeah,
can you argue that? There are a lot of people
uh,
resistant to it. We meet that, they want their loved one to live forever and ever, even though their loved one is literally 102. It's just not a realistic expectation. None of us are meant to live forever. We're all on the same journey. We're all on the same
yeah.
journey.
It kills me when I hear that. When you see someone who's passed away when they're 89 or 90. Robert Redford passed away, and people are saying, "Oh, that's so sad. That's so sad." I'm going like, "What's so sad about it? He had a hell of a ride. He got 89 years. I'm celebrating that. I'm
Right?
celebrating that. I'm
Celebrate
not
the
sitting
life
there.
they had. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
It's
not
always
sad
hard to
about
say
that.
goodbye, though. Patrick, I always say that to people and I'll cry with families pretty regularly because it is always hard for them to say goodbye. You're going to miss that person. But you're
Sure.
right. Is it a tragedy? No.
No.
Let's celebrate the 89 years we had together. Let's celebrate that.
A little boy or a little girl, being killed in a school, that's a fucking tragedy.
Yeah. It's a little hard
That's
past.
yeah, that's brutal. That's something, worth shedding tears for. But me shedding tears over Robert Redford, who lived 89 years old, or Kurt Russell, who lived to be 103, I think. I'm not celebrating that. I'm not mourning that. I'm celebrating them. Going
Let's
like,
have a
man, you got a
celebration
hell
of
of a
life.
ride. Yeah. Uh, um. So, do do when you get home, and you said you unwind and whatnot, and then when you sit down and you start to putting in the stories in together. Now you mentioned all your social media, all your social media. What kind of do people come to you all the time, and once they figure out what you do, and do they all come with you all at once, wanting to share their own stories with you, like because like that's one thing I got. I got a lot of people that came up to me and they always had a story to tell me. Well, my uncle had cancer, my aunt had cancer. Okay, okay, I get that, but that's their journey. Like I got asked a lot for the first 3 or 4 years after my wife died. I got asked a lot of times, like, what's going to happen? My loved one has cancer. What's going to happen? And what should I do? And I sit there and say, I can't tell you because this is the most
Sure.
personal journey of all. I don't have any advice to give you. I don't have nothing at all other than one thing. I have two things that I tell people when they ask me, and I totally regret this. I should have been more assertive about this for my own self, for my own self. But the only thing I tell people to do is film them. Get them to where you're at and film them. Sit down and say, just talk. I don't care what you want to talk about. Just talk. Just tell me about growing up. Tell me this, because it's not necessarily for them. It's for you, because after they're gone, that might be the only thing you have left.
That's interesting.
So I tell
I
people,
actually,
like,
that's a great idea.
so I tell people, like, if you get a bad call, like stage 4 or advanced or whatever, I would sit there and say, just grab a camera, grab your phone, tell them to start talking. Doesn't matter what they say. They can sit there and say the hell with this disease for an hour straight. Let them do it. And so do that. And the second thing I tell them is go slow. There's not a race to empty out your house. I knew one person who was very upset. Her mother died, and her father was already getting rid of her stuff after 2 to 3 weeks. She wasn't upset for her; she was upset for him because she knew that in a couple of months or 3 or 4 months he would regret that tremendously, and that's exactly what happened. He got rid of everything because he was in shock. Came back, did it, and then 3 months after that, came to his daughter and said, "I don't know what I was thinking." And so it's like that's what I tell people: is just take a deep breath, move slow. There's no rush. There's no hurry as far as that goes. It's still going to be there tomorrow. Her possessions or his possessions, they're still going to be there tomorrow. They're going to be there the next day. There's no hurry. So
I think you do have
that's
to
all.
give yourself adequate time to grieve. Allow yourself
Mm,
that. You've earned it.
yeah. Um, yeah, I didn't know what complicated grief was. That was a new term for me. I had no idea. All I know is it's it's fucking agony. It's every day is
Indeed.
every day. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
to say
it's
goodbye to
agony.
someone you love so
Uh,
much. Yeah.
it's so
Brutal.
and like I said, this is my legacy here. What I'm doing, when I talk to people such as
Love it.
yourself. Um, so do people from social media, do they come to you with their own stories
I do.
and want to
I do
share
a
them?
fair amount of that, and I try and recount and retell their stories. I try and incorporate them into the Florence files. I love to hear people's stories. Come at me. Hit me up with your stories. Yeah, tell me what you've seen. I'm very interested, and I'd love to retell it if you allow me.
Yeah. Well, I bet you would get a lot of great stories from the paramedics.
Oh, I have a good relationship with many paramedics, and we do share war
Wow.
stories. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be cool. So
We
what are you gonna do with this now? Now that I'm thinking maybe maybe audiobook might be the way to go. Seems like more and more people are doing that. Um, You
It's a
know,
great idea. That's a great idea.
I
I don't know. I just kind of take things one day at a time. Again, I'm not particularly tech savvy. I have to bring my kids in to help me and to show me, and then eventually I figure things out. But, so the world is such a different place, and there's so many ways we can take this and do this. It isn't just writing things down in a book anymore, which was our only outlet at one point in time. So I
yeah.
don't.
I started a blog. I used to sit there and write for the first couple of years afterwards, and I then eventually I end up getting on YouTube. I've been here for about 5 years now, and I find this to be a really good outlet. Hey, Atro, how are you? Glad you're here. Glad you're here. We are talking with storyteller Florence Frightengale from the Frightengale Files. Now, where can we find these stories, the ones that you've already spoken? Where can we find them at?
You will find most of my stories on at Florence Frightengale on TikTok. I do have a YouTube channel. Again, look for Florence Frightengale. Those are mostly podcasts. So I do have podcasts that I show on, or I release on YouTube. There's also Patreon. She has everything's Florence Frightengale. So Patreon has, there's Instagram. You will find some of her stories on Instagram. It's all over the place. I mean, there's smatterings all over. I do get the most love on TikTok right now. So that's where I spend the majority of my time.
We put your YouTube channel down as far as people want to go over there and connect.
Yeah,
You can
tell
go
me
ahead
what you think.
Yes,
Yeah.
go over to Florence's YouTube channel and subscribe over there and drop a comment.
Please.
Nanette says here, if I wanted to tell you a story, how can I do that? Is there
Uh,
like an email that people could email you and send
I get a lot
stories
of
in? Or
messages on TikTok, but you can reach out on any of those social medias. Just leave a comment, and I'll be glad to hit you back if you leave a contact source. Florence doesn't have an email right now, but she will. But she will.
and I and I and I did put I put the link to the YouTube channel, Nanette, and also put her TikTok. So if you have a TikTok, you can go over there and follow Florence. Or if you want to go through our way, which is YouTube, you can do that as well. Um, both sites are up and running. Man, I can't thank you enough for coming out here and talking with us.
I had a
I
great time.
Yeah, I had a great time too. I really did. I really enjoyed this quite a bit, and I'm glad
Too.
you decided to come out. Yeah, I
So am
think
I.
that once this gets out there, I mean, once you share this out with your followers, I think more people are going to come look for you for interviews too. You're a great interviewer, great guest. So I think that will be coming up too. Um, if you do, when you get your audiobook up and running, I definitely want to know about it, because when you launch it, we'll have you come back and we'll talk about it.
I love it.
Uh, Hi, One Wish Two says loves the Frightengale Files. I'm glad. I'm glad. Me too. Me
Me
too.
too.
I'm glad
Thank
you're
you.
here. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're new to my channel, the people coming over and watching this on the replay, if you're new to my channel, go over there and give me a sub. Me and the Cheetah, I have a real Cheetah. He's right above you. We're trying to get to 1,700 heads, and
Let's
we're
do
only
it.
two away. We're only two away from being at 1,700. So
We got
hit
this,
the hit the
people.
yeah, hit the follow button and drop a comment down below. Let us know what you think of Florence Frightengale. And thank you for the service that you do as a nurse. That is first and foremost.
My
You
passion.
save a lot. Yeah, you save a lot of lives. You're a very compassionate person. Nurses are definitely our unsung heroes here.
Um,
Uh, and it's not the doctors; it's the nurses. Without
People
nurses,
sometimes
there
forget
there are
that.
no
Yeah.
doctors.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sometimes
without nurses, there are no doctors. Um, it says Nanette says that I'm already following her TikTok and YouTube. I looked her up information in the comments of the live stream, and I've already started following her. Okay,
thank
no
you.
problem. That's great.
Nanette,
So
I
that's
love it.
follow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome aboard.
I will go ahead and I will launch this out on my Facebook channel and my own TikTok, and we'll get some people over here and discover the Frightengale files. All right, tomorrow night, me and the Cheetah are on the road. We're on the road. We're going heading over to the Horror Miser Monty G's channel, along with the Wonder Twins and Dale on movies. We will be discussing The Vitch from A24. I was going to ask you this, and I was going to ask you this. I guess I could ask you this for my last question: Is are you a big horror movie buff too? I mean,
Always have been. Love horror. My family loves horror. The new Conjuring came out, and all my kids. I was working that night, but all of them went together to go see the new Conjuring. Big horror buffs in my house, all around.
Now, can your sister handle Annabelle, or does she see Annabelle and she knows it's really?
I think she's had enough traumatic paranormal experiences in her life. She shies away from that. But my children.
I am so surprised by that. I had no idea that it was Raggedy Ann. I saw the doll they used for the movie. I'm like, oh, that's just okay. That's all I thought. I thought it was just a one of a kind. And next thing you know, now you're telling me, well, it's really Raggedy Ann. I'm going like, that sort of makes sense because they are sort of weird looking, her and Andy. So yeah, I could dig that. So next time we'll have you come back. We'll talk some horror movies.
I love that. Yeah, I love
that. That'll be a lot of fun. I'll let you get out of here now. Just stay right there for 1 second. I'm going to say goodbye to the chat. Thank you all for your support today, and we will see you. We'll see you tomorrow on Monty's channel, or not. We'll see you next Wednesday when I have to double check. I'm always wrong with my name. Samantha Plotkin will be here. And we'll be talking movies again with her. And on the next Saturday, on the 27th, Invitation to Hell, directed by Wes Craven, starring Susan Lucci and Robert Urich. See, we remember those two people, right?
Susan Lucci. Oh my goodness, all my children love her.
That was a lot of the people today. They go like, Susan who? And they're like, oh my gosh, you had no idea how big of a star
she was. A powerhouse, yeah.
She was. And then she was up. How many times was she up before she won her acting award? Was she up for was it 20 times that she got nominated?
22 times or something, yeah.
You know what? About the 13th or the 14th time, you knew it was an inside joke from now.
It was an inside joke, yeah.
I think they did it. They did it out of cruelty, I believe. I really believe that. There's just no way you're gonna put her up there all this time without intentionally telling people, put her up, but don't vote for her. I have no idea. Yeah. I have no idea why they would do that, but I firmly believe that they did.
She was a character America loved to hate, but yes.
Yes. All right, that's it. Stay right where you're at, Florence, and for everybody else, we'll say goodbye to you here and see you tomorrow night, hopefully. Peace.